From the sweltering heat of 1955 to the bitter withdrawal in 1975, the Vietnam War unfolded as a brutal symphony of conflict, pitting American military might against the resilient forces of North Vietnam and their Viet Cong guerrilla allies. Dense jungles swallowed entire platoons, while jagged mountains and relentless monsoons turned every step into a test of human will, forcing soldiers on both sides to confront not just enemies, but an environment that seemed determined to claim lives on its own terms. Guerrilla tactics transformed predictable battles into chaotic ambushes, where shadows hid death and every rustle of leaves could signal the end. To counter this nightmare landscape, the United States poured innovation into its arsenal, crafting weapons that needed to be deadly yet dependable in mud that clogged mechanisms and humidity that rusted steel overnight. Rifles, machine guns, launchers, and mines, each piece of equipment became an extension of the soldier's survival instinct, designed to seize fleeting moments of advantage in a war where hesitation meant oblivion. The M16 rifle emerged as a revolutionary tool born from Armalite's vision and refined by Colt, entering service in the early 1960s to eclipse the bulky M14 with its sleek 5.56mm rounds that spat fire at blistering speeds. Lighter than its predecessor by several pounds, it allowed troops to weave through vine-choked undergrowth without the drag of excess weight, granting them the agility to respond to sudden Viet Cong assaults. Its selective fire capability switched seamlessly between precise single shots for distant threats and rapid bursts to shred close-range attackers, turning individual infantrymen into walking storm centers of lethality. Yet early deployments revealed cruel flaws as the rifle jammed in the pervasive grit and moisture, claiming American lives through mechanical betrayal rather than enemy bullets. Soldiers whispered curses at a weapon marketed as self-cleaning, but which demanded meticulous care, absent in initial shipments, until congressional outrage forced the distribution of cleaning kits and rigorous training protocols. Over years of iteration, chrome-plated chambers and forward assists transformed the M16 from a finicky prototype into a battlefield legend, symbolizing how wartime pressure forges reliability from initial failure. Nicknamed the Thumper for its satisfying boom or blooper for the cartoonish sound of its discharge, the M79 grenade launcher arrived in the 1960s as a portable artillery piece for the common grunt. This single-shot 40mm marvel bridged the gap between hand-thrown explosives and heavy mortars, letting a lone soldier lob high-explosive rounds up to 350 meters away to pulverize bunkers or scatter ambushing foes. Its break-action design mimicked an oversized shotgun, enabling swift reloads even under fire, while its modest weight of under 3 kilograms meant it could accompany patrols without overburdening the carrier. Versatility defined its appeal, with payloads ranging from fragmentation shells that turned foliage into shrapnel storms, to smoke canisters for concealment, or tear gas to flush tunnels. In the steaming confines of Vietnamese hamlets, it provided the punch to suppress superior numbers, allowing outnumbered squads to maneuver and escape encirclement. The M14 rifle, predecessor to the M16, traced its lineage to post-World War II needs, debuting in the late 1950s, chambered for the potent 7.62mm NATO cartridge that punched through cover at ranges exceeding 500 meters. Select fire modes offered versatility for open field engagements, where its accuracy shone in semi-automatic precision or full auto suppression, though recoil often turned the latter into a wild spray. It served valiantly in the war's early phases on terrains less choked with vegetation, but its 5 kg heft became a curse in swampy lowlands where every ounce sapped strength from already exhausted men. Control issues in automatic mode diminished its value in the lightning-fast clashes of jungle warfare, prompting the swift transition to lighter alternatives. The M72 Law, light anti-tank weapon, revolutionized infantry anti-armor capabilities when introduced in the 1960s. A disposable tube that extended to fire a 66mm rocket capable of gutting light vehicles or collapsing fortified positions up to 200 meters distant. Weighing a mere 2.5 kilograms, it empowered any soldier to become a tank hunter, carrying destruction in a package no bulkier than a bazooka round from earlier eras. Its single-use nature eliminated reload hassles, discarding the spent launcher like an empty shell casing to maintain momentum in fluid battles. Backblast dangers demanded clear rear space, revealing positions in a telltale roar of flame. But its simplicity drew from World War II bazookas and Soviet RPGs, while improving portability for guerrilla-infested environments. Variations persist in modern militaries, a testament to its enduring design philosophy. Resembling a grease gun in its utilitarian stamped steel form, the M3 submachine gun carried over from World War II into Vietnam, firing .45 ACP slugs that hammered targets at close quarters with authoritative stopping power. Produced cheaply during wartime shortages, it prioritized ruggedness over elegance, weighing 3.7 kilograms for easy handling in confined spaces like tunnel complexes or urban ruins. A deliberate 450 rounds per minute cyclic rate conserved ammunition while managing recoil for better accuracy in sustained bursts. Field stripping required minimal tools, suiting the ad hoc repairs of jungle outposts, though its effective range capped at short distances limited broader applications. It outlasted expectations, serving until the 1990s as a symbol of economical yet brutal efficiency. Evolving from select M14 rifles, the M21 sniper system debuted in 1969, mating match-grade barrels with advanced optics for lethal precision up to 900 meters using 7.62mm rounds. Hand-picked and tuned for consistency, it incorporated adjustable scopes and bipods to steady aim on uneven ground, turning marksmen into ghosts who eliminated officers or spotters from afar. Its weight approached 5.3 kilograms, challenging mobility in thick brush, but the psychological impact of unseen death disrupted enemy cohesion. As one of the first modern scoped sniper platforms, it set precedents for future designated marksman roles. The Remington 870 pump-action shotgun in 12-gauge configuration excelled in the visceral close quarters of tunnel rat operations or village clearances, where buckshot or slugs demolished threats at arm's length. Its robust build shrugged off mud and abuse with a capacity for 8 rounds, sustaining fire through frantic encounters. Manual pumping ensured function even when semi-automatics failed in grime, though it slowed cadence compared to rifles. Durability made it a favorite, persisting in service worldwide long after the war. Directional devastation defined the M18 Claymore mine, a 1960 introduction that projected 700 steel balls in a 60-degree fan up to 50 meters upon command detonation. Remote or tripwire activation allowed safe ambushes from cover, carving kill zones in trails or perimeters. Setup demanded care to avoid friendly casualties, but its controlled lethality multiplied defensive strength. The M26 fragmentation grenade optimized area denial with a 15-meter lethal radius from its pineapple-shaped body, Lightweight at 450 grams for carrying multiples. A 4 to 5 second fuse permitted accurate throws in assaults or retreats, though proximity risks invited tragedy if mistimed. Integrated into the M16, the M203 underbarrel launcher of the late 1960s fired 40mm projectiles up to 400 meters, adding indirect fire without extra weapons. Sliding breech reloads supported diverse munitions from high explosive to illumination, enhancing squad flexibility despite added weight. The M60 machine gun, dubbed the Peg for its bulk and grunt, delivered 7.62mm belts at 500-650 rounds per minute for suppressive blankets or vehicular mounts. Influenced by the German MG42, its quick-change barrel sustained fire, but 10.5 kilograms burdened carriers in rough terrain with jams plaguing early models. Iconic in media, it embodied raw suppressive power. Shifting to North Vietnamese and Viet Cong armaments, the AK-47 formed the spine of their infantry. Designed by Mikhail Kalashnikov in 1947 for unforgiving reliability in 7.62mm caliber. Tolerant of neglect, it functioned through submersion in rice paddies or burial in dust where M16s faltered. At 4.3 kilograms loaded, it balanced portability with 600 rounds per minute output, ideal for hit-and-run tactics. Minimal training sufficed for recruits, enabling mass mobilization, while American troops occasionally scavenged them for superior uptime. The RPG-7 rocket launcher countered armor with shape-charge warheads, penetrating up to 500 meters stationary or 200 moving in a reusable tube weighing 7 kilograms. Versatile payloads included thermal barrack options for bunkers, though operator skill governed accuracy and backblast betrayed positions. It symbolized asymmetric warfare, empowering insurgents against mechanized foes. Captured from French forces, the MAT-49 submachine gun in 9mm offered compact firepower with a folding magazine for 600 rounds per minute in ambushes. Durable and simple, it suited guerrilla maintenance, but range limited to 200 meters curtailed open engagements. Local tweaks amplified its utility against better-equipped opponents. The RPD light machine gun provided squad support with 7.62 by 39mm belts at 650 rounds per minute in a 7-kilogram package, sharing ammo with AKs for logistics ease. Belt reloads exposed gunners briefly, and overheating necessitated pauses, yet its reliability mirrored captured units wielded by Americans. Chinese Type 53 carbine, clone of the Mosin Nagant M44, delivered bolt-action punch with 7.62 by 54R at range plus integral bayonet for melee. Rugged for 4-kilogram carry, 5-round clips slowed fire, but availability via aid sustained forces. Type 67 grenades, locally produced, fragmented over 15 meters, lightweight for volume throws, highlighting resourcefulness. Makarov PM pistols in 9x18mm armed officers compactly at 730 grams with 8 rounds, reliable in humidity for last-ditch defense. Dragunov SPD sniper rifles extended reach to 800 meters semi-automatically with PSO-1 scopes, durable for jungle sniping, though less precise than Western bolt actions at extremes. In the heart of a moonlit clearing, a Viet Cong sapper clutches his AK-47, heart pounding as American boots crunch nearer, choosing between the thunder of his rifle, the whoosh of an RPG, or the silent trip of a claymore to spring the trap that could turn the tide. American grunts counter with M16 bursts, M79 thumps, and M60 roars. Each in the jungle erupts in a cacophony of engineered death where innovation meets desperation. Each weapon, from the finicky yet evolved M16 to the indestructible AK-47, carried stories of engineers, soldiers, and the unforgiving demands of a war that spared no one. The M16's journey from jamming nightmare to trusted companion illustrated rapid adaptation under fire, with field modifications like taped magazines for quicker reloads becoming standard lore. Grenade launchers like the M79 inspired fear with their arcing payloads that ignored cover, turning safe havens into infernos. Anti-tank tools such as the LAW gave foot soldiers godlike power against steel beasts, democratizing destruction. Submachine guns like the grease gun provided economical close-in fury for budget-strapped logistics. Sniper systems elevated the art of one-shot kills, disrupting command structures from hidden perches. Shotguns cleared the underworld of tunnels where light failed and nerves frayed. Mines dictated movement, forcing enemies into kill sacks. Grenades multiplied a single arm's throw into widespread havoc. Machine guns pinned foes, allowing maneuvers that exploited terrain. On the other side, the AK-47's loose tolerances laughed at conditions that crippled precision arms. RPGs leveled playing fields against air and armor superiority. Captured MAT-49s turned colonial legacies against invaders. RPDs sustained fire with shared calibers, simplifying supply chains snaking from China and Russia. Carbines offered proven bolt-action reliability in abundance. Grenades crafted from scrap embodied self-sufficiency. Pistols ensured officers fought to the end. Dragunovs picked off leaders sowing chaos. Together, these instruments composed a deadly orchestra where American technological edges clashed with communist resilience in a protracted stalemate. Patrols learned to fear the distinctive crack of AKs echoing through canopy. Helicopters dreaded RPG trails streaking skyward. Bunkers shuddered under M79 impacts. Trails became graveyards courtesy of claymores. Tunnels echoed with 870 blasts. Skies rained M26 fragments. Belts of M60 ammo vanished in seconds, suppressing advances. SVD rounds whispered death from bridge lines. Every engagement tested and refined these tools, pushing boundaries of what metal and explosive could achieve in human hands. Innovations born in Vietnam rippled forward, influencing designs for decades, from modular rifles to underbarrel systems. The war's lessons in reliability versus complexity, in weight versus power, shaped arsenals worldwide. Soldiers' tales of weapons that saved or failed them became legends passed in barracks and history books. The M16's redemption arc mirrored America's learning curve in unconventional war. The AK-47's ubiquity underscored simplicity's triumph in adversity. In the end, the deadliest weapons were those that adapted, survived, and killed consistently in the green hell that was Vietnam. From the first M14 shots in advisory rolls to the last M60 burst covering evacuations, the arsenal evolved with the conflict. North Vietnamese persistence armed with Soviet and Chinese ingenuity prolonged the struggle, turning supplied arms into symbols of defiance. Viet Cong ingenuity modified captured gear, blending it seamlessly with their doctrine. Ambushes favored quick-firing submachine guns and launchers for shock. Defenses relied on mines and machine guns to bleed attackers. Snipers harried from afar, eroding morale. Grenades cleared rooms and trails alight. Pistols finished the wounded in mercy or malice. The interplay of these weapons created a dynamic battlefield where superiority shifted with terrain, tactics, and luck. American air mobility countered ground traps but invited RPG fire. Jungle cover negated range advantages, favoring close weapons. Monsoons drowned precision but amplified rugged designs. Urban fights in Hue or Saigon brought shotguns and submachine guns to the fore. Riverine operations demanded lightweight, reliable arms. Mountain campaigns tested endurance with every carried kilogram. Each environment sculpted usage, dictating loadouts and strategies. Training emphasized weapon familiarity, turning recruits into extensions of their tools. Maintenance rituals became sacred, warding off jams that invited death. Scavenging enemy arms blurred lines of allegiance in pragmatic survival. Captured AKs in American hams spoke volumes of perceived reliabilities. Modified M79s with shortened barrels experimented in tunnels. Improvised silencers on M3s for stealth raids. Belt-fed RPDs adopted for sustained American fire. The cross-pollination enriched both sides' effectiveness. Logistical chains strained under demands, with American abundance clashing against communist austerity, yet both sustained fire. Ammo compatibility within blocks eased resupply for communists, while Americans airdropped crates. Shortages forced creativity, like reloading claymores or handcrafting grenades. The war became a vast laboratory for weapon efficacy under stress. Post-war analyses dissected performances, leading to revolutions in small arms. The M16's 5.56mm shift influenced NATO standards. AK variants proliferated globally. RPGs evolved into family trees of anti-armor. Grenade launchers integrated standardly. Machine guns lightened. Snipers gained optics and calibers. Mines directionalized further. Shotguns specialized. The Vietnam arsenal's legacy endures in modern conflicts, echoing through deserts and cities alike. Reflecting now, the deadliest aspects weren't always raw power, but adaptability in the crucible of combat. Weapons that failed initially, like early M16s, redeemed through iteration. Those inherently tough like AKs thrived on neglect. Versatility in munitions expanded roles beyond intent. Psychological impacts from thumps or cracks broke spirits before bodies. In the symphony of war, each note, from rifle crack to grenade blast, contributed to the cacophony that defined an era. Soldiers carried not just steel, but the weight of innovation's promises and failures. Commanders planned around capabilities, knowing a single jam could doom a platoon. Engineers back home iterated from frontline reports, racing to save lives. The human element fused with machinery in deadly harmony. Stories abound of M60 gunners holding lines alone, belts depleting as comrades escaped. RPG gunners felling Hueys in flaming glory, claymores saving outposts by shredding night assaults, M21 snipers picking generals from miles, E-70s clearing booby-trapped lairs, M79s arcing salvation over walls, M72s brewing tanks in ambushes, M3s rattling in tunnel darkness, M26s bouncing into foxholes, MT-03s suppressing from rifle integration, AKs chattering at endless volleys, SVDs silencing radios, MAT-49s folding for stealth strikes, RPDs belting support, Type 53 bayonets charging, Type 67s fragmenting patrols, Makarovs executing in captivity. The tapestry weaves endless threads of bravery, desperation, and mechanical precision. Ultimately, the war's deadliest weapons were those wielded with cunning in the unforgiving theater of Vietnam, where metal met flesh in history's grim dance. The conflict spanned 2 decades, claiming millions and scarring landscapes forever. Weapons evolved from prototypes to icons under fire's forge. American industry churned improvements, while communist blocs supplied steadfast designs. Guerrillas advanced all to asymmetric advantage. Conventional forces leveraged tech for dominance. The balance teetered on weapon reliabilities and mud and blood. Today, museums display these relics, silent testimonies to their past roars. Veterans recount tales where a single round decided fates. Historians debate turning points hinged on armaments. The Vietnam War's arsenal remains a study in contrast. Innovation versus endurance, complexity against simplicity, power balanced by portability. In its wake, modern soldiers inherit lessons hard-won in jungle shadows. The cycle continues, weapons advancing, yet fundamentals of reliability, lethality, and untaptability eternal. From 1955's opening salvos to 1975's final echoes, the deadliest tools shaped destinies in Southeast Asia's crucible. The M16 started shaky but ended ubiquitous. The AK-47 began legendary and stayed so. Grenade systems bridged gaps in firepower. Anti-armor democratized threats to machines. Close-quarter arms dominated intimacies of combat. Precision tools harvested leaders. Area denial dictated movements. Sustained fire suppressed initiatives. Sidearms ensured survival. Each category filled niches in the chaos. Integrated, they formed doctrines that clashed in protracted agony. The war's end left arsenals scattered, some destroyed, others repurposed in new conflicts. Influences persist in current designs, modular, versatile, and resilient. Vietnam taught that no weapon wins alone, but in skilled hands, within sound tactics, they tip scales. The deadliest were those that performed when needed most, betraying neither user nor moment. In the annals of military history, Vietnam's weapons chapter stands vivid, painted in fire, smoke, and the indelible marks of human ingenuity pushed to extremes. The jungles may have reclaimed paths, but the echoes of thumps, cracks, and explosions linger in collective memory. Soldiers from both sides shared the burden of carrying death, refined by engineers far removed. The fusion of man and machine in adversity produced legends. The M16's chrome bore, the AK-stamped receiver, the M79's tube, the RPG's warhead, all artifacts of their time. Deadliest not in isolation, but in the symphony they created amid Vietnam's unrelenting trial. The conflict dragged superpowers into quagmires, testing resolve and resources. Weapons became extensions of national wills, American precision versus communist perseverance. Outcomes hinged on daily duels where reliabilities shone or failed. Adaptations flowed bi-directionally, captured arms informing enemies. The war accelerated small arms evolution, compressing years of development into months. Post-war, the world adopted hybrids, blending best traits. Vietnam's legacy in weaponry is innovation under duress, reliability in ruin, versatility and variety. The deadliest instruments were those that endured, delivered, and defined the era's brutal narrative. From advisory beginnings with M14s to evacuation under M60 cover, the arc bent toward refinement. North Vietnamese, from Type 53 bolts to SVD scopes, mirrored progression within constraints. Viet Cong, from scavenged MAT-49s to local Type 67s, exemplified resourcefulness. The tapestry complete reveals a war where weapons were characters as vital as the men who wielded them. Their stories interweaved with human drama of courage, fear, and sacrifice. In retrospect, the deadliest aspect was the unrelenting demand they placed on users in an environment that amplified every flaw in virtue. Vietnam's weapons, deadliest in their context, shaped not just battles, but the future of conflict itself. The M16 taught lightweight, high-velocity paradigms. The AK-47 proved rugged, intermediate calibers. Launchers integrated fire support. Mines controlled space. Grenades multiplied force. Machine guns anchored defenses. Snipers disrupted. Shotguns conquered confines. Pistols persisted. The ensemble performed a deadly ballet on history's stage. Curtains fell in 1975, but encores play in ongoing evolutions. The Vietnam War's armory remains a benchmark for what makes weapons truly deadly in the forge of real war. reliability under abuse, lethality without excess, adaptability to chaos, these crowned the kings of that green inferno. American and communist alike contributed to the pantheon. The deadliest weapons used in the American-Vietnam War were those that survived the test of jungle hell to kill efficiently and repeatedly, turning the tide one engagement at a time. The conflict's intensity forged tools that transcended their origins, becoming symbols of an age. From the first M79 thump to the last AK burst, the soundtrack of war resonated. Deadliest in combination, in skilled application, in relentless evolution. The Vietnam arsenal, a grim gallery of human craft at its most lethal. Jungles, mountains, rivers, all bore witness to their fury. Soldiers carried them into legend. History records their impacts in blood and steel. The deadliest weapons of the Vietnam War, American and adversary alike, defined a generation's struggle in the unyielding grip of combat's reality. The war spanned ideologies, geographies, and technologies, clashing in microcosms of global tension. Weapons bridged those divides, becoming equalizers or escalators. Their stories continue to instruct, inspire, and warn. In the end, the deadliest were those that worked when everything else failed, in the heart of darkness that was Vietnam. The M16 adapted and conquered doubts. The AK-47 needed no adaptation, thriving as is. The N79 thumped victory from afar. The RPG whooshed armor's doom. The Claymore fanned death directionally. The M60 pigged out on belts. The SVD dragged precision to range. The 870 pumped terror in tight spaces. The M72 lawed tanks to scrap. The M21 marked designees for deletion. The M26 fragmented clusters. The M203 underslung versatility. The RPD belted squad fire. The MAT-49 folded for ambush. The Type 53 bayoneted tradition. The Type 67 locally lethal. The Makarov compactly concluded, all deadliest in their moments, shining or sinister, the Vietnam War's weapons pantheon complete in diversity and devastation. From 1955 to 1975, they wrote chapters in fire. Deadliest not by count, but by context, by clutch performance in clutch times. The arsenal of American Vietnam War deadliest instruments etched eternally in the annals of armed strife. The jungle swallowed sounds, but memories preserve the roars. Weapons deadliest when wielded with purpose in purpose's theater. Vietnam provided the stage. The deadliest performed unflinchingly. The curtain may have dropped, but the echoes endure. Deadliest weapons of the Vietnam War, American side and beyond. A legacy of lethal ingenuity. The war's end marked beginnings for influenced designs, deadliest in hindsight, those that balanced scales in unbalanced fights. Vietnam's weapons deadliest, testament to human capacity for destruction and adaptation. The story unfolds in every trigger pull, every explosion, every silent setup. Deadliest, the ones that turn potential into actuality in the green maze. American Vietnam War deadliest weapons, a chronicle of conflict's tools, from M16 to AK, from thumper to dragon, each deadly in domain. The full spectrum, deadliest in symphony. Vietnam War American deadliest weapons, comprehensive in their deadly array. The narrative complete, the deadliest crowned by survival and success in hell's own backyard. The Vietnam War spanned 20 grueling years, from the mid-1950s escalation to the 1975 fall of Saigon, transforming a regional dispute into a global ideological battleground that tested the limits of military technology and human endurance. American forces entered with conventional doctrines honed in World War II and Korea, only to confront a foe that melted into civilians and struck from underground layers, demanding weapons that could deliver overwhelming force in split seconds while remaining functional amid constant exposure to tropical rot. The North Vietnamese and Viet Cong countered with arms supplied through shadowy trails from communist giants, adapting each piece to guerrilla imperatives, where mobility trumped firepower and reliability overrode refinement. This clash birthed a catalog of deadliest tools, each refined or rugged to exploit the war's unique horrors. The M16 assault rifle symbolized American innovation's double-edged sword. Lightweight at 4 kilograms, with a 5.56 millimeter round that tumbled on impact, creating devastating wounds and allowing soldiers to carry hundreds more cartridges than the 7.62 millimeter alternatives. Its high-velocity fire rate exceeded 700 rounds per minute in bursts, shredding foliage and foes alike in the dense underbrush, where engagements erupted at spitting distances. Early chromeless bores fouled catastrophically in Vietnam's pervasive powder residue and moisture, leading to extraction failures that left troops defenseless mid-firefight until revised powders, buffered chambers, and mandatory cleaning regimes turned it into a dependable ally. Troops developed rituals of rod and oil, worshiping the rifle that once betrayed but now sustained them through patrols that stretched into weeks of tension. The M79 grenade launcher extended a soldier's reach beyond arm's throw, lobbing 40mm shells in high arcs over tree tops to explode in airbursts that rained shrapnel on hidden positions 350 meters away, a godsend for breaking contact when outnumbered. Its shotgun-like break action, reloaded in seconds under duress, with canisters for every need, from white phosphorus to mark landings for air support to flechette rounds that turned it into a giant shotgun for trail clearances. Nicknamed for its distinctive report, it became the sound of hope for pinned squads calling in thumps to suppress machine gun nests embedded in hillsides. The M14 held the line in the war's infancy, its wood-stocked solidity chambering the full-power 7.62 millimeter for punches that dropped targets through bamboo at 500 meters with iron sights or early scopes. Full auto capability provided squad fire support before dedicated machine guns arrived, but the kick turned accuracy into prayer at range, prompting selectors locked to semi for most users. Its weight became legendary, a curse in monsoons, where mud suctioned boots and every pound dragged like anchors, slowing reactions in ambushes that favored the swift. The M72 Law packed anti-armor punch in a pop-out tube, firing a rocket that burned through 300 millimeters of steel, ideal for blasting APCs or bunker apertures in a weapon light enough for every infantryman to carry a secondary. Disposable after one shot, it eliminated the reload vulnerability of older bazookas, though the fiery backblast cleared a danger zone behind the shooter, often giving away positions in the quiet before storms. It empowered grunts to challenge the mechanical monsters that rumbled supply roads, turning hunters into hunted with a single pull. The M3 grease gun chugged .45 caliber slugs in controlled bursts, its stamped metal frame cheap to produce and impervious to abuse in a submachine gun that excelled in the rat warrens of QG tunnels where light and compactness meant survival. Slow cyclic rate conserved the 30-round magazines for prolonged engagements in darkness, lit only by muzzle flashes. It lingered from WW2 vaults, filling niches where newer designs hadn't yet penetrated. The M21 sniper rifle, hand-built from premium M14s with artillery-grade barrels and leatherwood scopes, reached out to 800 meters with match ammo, picking off NEA officers during briefings or VC couriers on trails, disrupting chains of command with invisible justice. Its bipod steadied on roots or rice dike perms for shots that echoed morale cracks through enemy ranks. The Remington 870 shotgun in military trim blasted doorways with OO buck or slugs, clearing hutches in seconds during search and destroy missions, its pump action unfazed by the gore and debris that jammed automatics. 8 rounds allowed sustained room entries before reload, a brutal tool for the brutal work of urban pacification. The M18 Claymore projected a fan of ball bearings like a shotgun from hell, command detonated from 100 meters away to scythe-charging sappers, or tripwired for autonomous defense of fire bases at night. Its front-toward enemy embossment became a grim joke among perimeter guards setting up killing fields that frontaled attackers into crossfires. The M26 grenade with serrated coil fragmented into 50 lethal pieces on a 5-second timer, thrown into bunkers or rolled down slopes to explode amid clustered foes, its oval shape fitting perfectly in fatigue pockets for multiples per soldier. The M203 slid under M16 barrels, adding 40mm punch without extra carry, firing up to 400 meters with practice to illuminate night fights or high-explosive dual-purpose rounds against light vehicles. Its leaf sight flipped up for quick ranging, turning every rifleman into grenadier. The M60 machine gun belted 7.62mm links at 550 rounds per minute from tripods or hip-fired in assaults. Its gas system copied from German designs, with quick-swap barrels to maintain fire during prolonged contacts, though overheating warped early models until asbestos gloves and spare parts became standard. Dubbed the Pig, it anchored platoons, allowing maneuvers under its umbrella of lead. North Vietnamese AK-47s tolerated immersion in paddies, firing when pulled dripping wet, their 7.62 by 39mm intermediate round balancing range and controllability for volleys that pinned Americans long enough for flanks. Chrome-lined internals shrugged off neglect in a rifle that armed peasants turned soldiers with days of training. The RPG-7 launched fin-stabilized rockets with PG-7 warheads penetrating 330mm of armor at 300 meters, or tandem charges later for reactive plates, a shoulder-fired nightmare for low-flying choppers or convoys. Reusable with optical sights, it became the icon of insurgency. MAT-49 submachine guns captured from French stockpiles folded stocks for bike-mounted raids, 9mm parabellum plentiful from Allied drops rattling at 600 RPM in village assaults. RPD machine guns shared AK ammo in 100-round drums or belts for squad automatic fire, lightweight at 9 kilograms for one man to haul through terraced hills. Type 53 carbines spiked with bayonets charged in human wave remnants, their 7.62 by 54R rimmed rounds piercing sandbag walls from 500 meters in defensive stance. Type 67 stick grenades, mass-produced in jungle factories, fragmented reliably for booby traps or thrown in bundles from tunnels. Makarov pistols tucked in belts for officers finishing interrogations or suicidal last stands, 9 by 18mm sufficient at conversation distances. Dragunov SVDs with skeleton stocks and PSO scopes. Designated marksmen harassing from 1,000 meters. Semi-auto follow-ups outpacing bolt guns. The deadliest weapons intertwined in tactics American fire superiority, meeting communist infiltration. In battles where M16 met AK in seconds-long duels, M79 answered RPG trails, Claymores countered sapper probes, M60 dueled RPDs across clearings, H-tool Deadliest when countering its opposite in the fluid dance of advance and evasion. Innovations like rifle grenades or improvised RPG sights emerged from necessity. Captured weapons flipped allegiances, M16s in VC hands, AKs with GIs, the war's deadliest aspect, the relentless pressure cooker that birthed tactical masterpieces from mechanical reliabilities. From Yadrang's first large clash, where M14s held ridges, to Quezon siege with M60s roaring, the arsenal proved in blood. Hamburger Hill's slopes, slick with rain, saw M203s arcing support. Tet's urban surprises favored shotguns and grease guns, the deadliest weapons, those that turned defensive holds into offensive breaks or ambushes into routes. Vietnam's legacy, a pantheon where every piece from launcher to pistol earned its deadly repute through fire's baptism. The conflict's end scattered these tools, some to museums, others to new wars. But their stories of lethality in adversity remain etched. Deadliest, the M16's evolution, AK's indestructibility, M79's reach, RPG's punch, Claymore's fan, M60's belt, all in concert composing war's grim opus. American Vietnam War deadliest weapons, a saga of steel and will in jungle's embrace. The war demanded and received, arsenals pushed to limits, revealing truths of combat engineering. Reliability trumped bells, lethality needed control, adaptability won days. The deadliest embodied these in forms that killed, shaped outcomes, and survived to tell. From 1955 advisory shots to 1975 rooftop evacuations, they fired the volleys of history. Vietnam's weapons' deadliest chapter closed, but lessons open, influencing forever. The full array, American and foe, deadliest in their deadly harmony.